Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Veil Background Information. We're doing a character profile today and we're doing about Zarita Hernandez. She is the female romantic character in my latest story, The Loveless Viper, which I published in December. And I had done a video to advertise it for you, but somehow the whole thing crashed on YouTube and the file's been unrecoverable. I think it was because we had internet go kapoopy during the moment. But anyway, so I call my Viper Clan profiles. She's a partner to a member of the Viper Clan, so she doesn't have a full profile on Patreon yet. So this will be her first profile. And as always, I'll start with a quote, then I'll say a little bit about how I created her, and then I'll give you just her character profile. So I hope you find her interesting. This was his home. He was no servant, and she was the one in need of sanctuary that needed to be kept safe by him. Zarita curled an eyebrow at him, and then seemed to get the idea that he might try and do such a thing, and with a sigh, she requested that Madame made a point to bring her husband here as soon as possible, because they could easily try for a baby in such a stress-free environment. Beauregard curled an eyebrow, almost thinking that she was damn plucky, but then he gave a soft sigh of frustration before he turned to leave. Quote from The Loveless Viper. I don't really know where Zarita bubbled up from. She was not supposed to have anything to do with Beauregard at all, but instead to be Hernandez's rather stern wife that no one would dare to get on the bad side of. In fact, I was going to have her be rather critical of Malvolio in the Viper King book for how he goes over the situation amongst the Iberian nobles, and yet this just happened. I had already decided upon so many other random lovers for Beauregard, and she wasn't even supposed to be an option, and then it just sort of happened. I can't believe it. I'm somehow made an affair happen and built Zarita into a little bit more of an understandable sort of character rather than just the high and mighty elitist that she is. I'm not really sure how anything with the Loveless Viper happened, but it just did. I'm embarrassed when I read the story sometimes, wondering how I even managed to write it. So, name Zarita Hernandez, position head of the Iberian noblewoman, story featured in The Loveless Viper, role romantic female lead, gender female, description aqua green eyes, dark olive skin, curvy, long black hair that bounces back in the light, big lush lips kept in a pouting motion, tall and busty, realm the veil. Abilities, typical vampire abilities of changing into a bat and drinking blood. Master the Almighty, personality, tough, not easy to spook. She has to be stern and strict because of the way she was raised, and she needed to be able to cope in an environment where she was expected to be able to run a house. She's not one for letting things slide, but she keeps secrets well, and though she does feel confused and uncertain about things, she tries to be straightforward as well as logical. She doesn't like doing the wrong thing, and doesn't like people to think that she might not be as honest as she acts. She keeps her true feelings hidden as best she can when she feels these feelings are wrong, but she can be shockingly passionate. Relations, wife of Eduardo Hernandez. History. Born in an area where the vampire nobles were disappearing due to low birth rates, her father was very disappointed to have a daughter, but made use of it quickly. Zarita was barely weaned before her father had her engaged to Eduardo Hernandez, though neither of them knew until they were 10 and had their first meeting. They were amiable together, and she considered him a good friend, but she didn't want to marry him. But she didn't want to upset her family or make them think that she didn't understand how important it was. She had to learn fast to be a strong woman of the house. She had a special teacher come in who taught her to walk straight and had no issue clipping her ear or even slapping her if she did something wrong or dared to speak her mind. She had to grow to hold on to her feelings, to think about the greater good and yet also the importance she had. Others began to call Zarita stuck up, but they respected her because she was firm and very good about her religion. She married, and she and Eduardo were very happy with one another, very comfortable, until they realized that having a baby was more difficult than it seemed. Eventually it became more obvious that they were having trouble, but Eduardo never strayed, and insisted he wouldn't. He was very much in love with her. When the shapeshifters began their uprising, however, Zarita was firm to stick to her husband's side, and give him confidence throughout, and to make sure that everything would be fine. She always was there for him, and to be she was always there for him to be comforted and reassured, and always she gave him good advice. But then they had an attack close to home, and Eduardo sent her to be in the safe care of his best friend Beauregard. Zarita knew her husband saw him as a brother, but his very best friend. But if there was one thing she did know, it was that everyone knew that Beauregard was a complete cad, and she was going to eye him up viciously for anything he did under her watch. At least that was the intention. Final comments. I really don't know what I've been doing with this story, but please check it out. Now, it's on Kindle only, so it's also on Kindle Unlimited, but I hope you found it interesting, and thank you for listening.